I want to take a few seconds at the beginning of this video to tell you about our new channel, History of Weapons. That link is below. This last Christmas season of 2015, there were more FBI background checks than ever before on gun ownership. That means most likely you or somebody you know got a gun for Christmas. So that's a lot of new gun owners, and I'm glad to hear about it, to be quite honest. So I'm going to take a moment and just put out a video on really dangerous behaviors that a lot of new gun owners tend to perform, and we're going to just really try to get that out there for safety purposes. So the first and foremost I'm going to say is you need a safety check. And what I mean by safety check is clearing your handgun or your rifle, making sure there's no ammo in there. To be quite honest, when I safety check, I actually really check it. Like, I not only look in there, I kind of stick my pinky down in there to make sure there's not a bullet in the hole that I don't see. And the reason I do that is I actually have a friend who shot himself in the hand cleaning his gun, and he was certain it was empty. So always do a safety check. Make sure, first and foremost, every time you pick that handgun up, do a safety check. Number two is point it in a safe direction. A lot of times you don't realize the ballistics of its ability to go through walls and that sort of thing, and man, it sure does. So always make sure it's pointed in a direction that if it was to go off, you wouldn't be causing anybody any danger at all. Next is no indexing. A lot of people don't index it. They pick up that handgun, their finger's on the trigger. You don't put your finger on that trigger until you're ready to squeeze it. It's pointing down in the right direction. So what I do is I always index my finger and I put it up above the trigger guard. And a lot of guns actually come with a grip there to kind of remind you that that is where it belongs. So always index your gun. Even if you draw it, don't put your finger on that trigger until you're ready to squeeze that trigger. Next is improper storage. Storing your gun, don't just leave that laying around, you know, especially if you have kids there. If you have a gun, you need a safe. If you have a gun, you need a lock. Lock it and put it in a safe if need be, but don't just leave those guns laying around where a burglar might get to it or a kid might get to it. You know, a lot of people just don't take this for granted, and to be quite honest, I even tell my kids, if you're at somebody's house and their father has a gun out, you tell him to safety check it. And if he won't safety check it, you call me and I'm going to come get you and take you out of that house. You know, and I tell them that because people are foolish. You can't trust people, and you know, you need to be able to trust yourself first and foremost. So don't keep that gun in a dangerous spot. Make sure it's properly stored. Next is just a lack of personal training. I mean, get out to the range, go get some classes, take some time to really get out there. I mean, I'm constantly seeking opportunities to train with a firearm, and you should too. It's, you know, you can't get enough training. I remember when I had to take my hunting course, I kind of thought I'd be wasting my time, but man, I learned a lot that day that I thought I knew. I'd already been hunting several times, but you know, I learned a lot, and then every time I go to a class, I learn even more. And so take classes, not just a CCW class. I think you need more than that if you're going to carry. Take lots of classes, go to the range a lot. Next is a failure to educate your own family members. If you have kids or a wife in that house, you need to educate them on safety as well. Everybody around that gun needs to know the dangers of that gun and respect that firearm. We need to be raising children with a deep-rooted respect of the firearm. And that's a lot of why we have the crime that we have given by kids. And it's because they lack the respect for the firearm. So make sure that you have a deep-rooted respect for the safety of that firearm in your family, and that everybody understands the rules on that family, and set those rules and keep those rules. Now the next one's kind of silly, but believe it or not, this happens all the time, is the wrong ammunition. You know, I don't know if you knew this, but it says on the side of the barrel the kind of ammunition it takes, and a lot of people will tell you, oh, you can put this in it or that in it. Don't believe that. I don't put any ammunition that it's not printed on the side of the barrel, and I've had guns that say 223, and I've had people tell me you can put 5.56 in it, and maybe you can, but I'm not going to be the one to figure that one out. I'm going to put what it says on the side of the barrel 100% of the time. Check your box, check your barrel, especially if you have multiple guns with similar rounds. You know, I strangely have come close to confusing a .380 with a 9mm in the past, And that's just not a mistake I'm going to get. I'm going to check and double check before I put any ammunition in that gun. Next is just cheap, terrible holsters. Make sure you got a good holster. If you're going to carry that gun, get a good holster. You know, it's strange, but people who illegally carry tend to not use holsters, and I find that phenomenon strange. So, you know, if you're going to legally carry, get a good holster. Why not? I mean, one of my favorite holsters I paid 49 bucks for. And, you know, get a good holster. You need a good holster. And if your holster doesn't work, you're like me, man. I got a bucket full of holsters that I'll never use because I tried them and I didn't like them. And here I am back trying them again. So get a good holster, keep a good holster. If it doesn't work, throw it away, get another one. So there you go. There's your short list on being safe with firearms. If you're new to owning a firearm, you know, take a moment, figure these things out. Don't just load it and start carrying it. Know what you're doing, and you'd be surprised how these mistakes are easily made. And these are mistakes you know, unfortunately have dire consequences to them. All the time you see stories of people leaving their firearms out and kids getting a hold of them, or they just drop them and shoot themselves, or they are reholstered and they shoot themselves. And a lot of it just has to do with just, you know, make sure it's pointed in a safe direction. Index your finger. Just little stuff like that. So there you go. If you like this video, click like and subscribe. We are praying people. We specifically pray for you all the time, and we love praying for you. So don't hesitate to send those in. And I really appreciate those of you guys that are sending those in. It means a lot to me that this ministry is working, because this is a ministry to us. It's important to us that we get good stuff out on the internet. If you have any questions or comments, always send those in. If there's any content you'd like to see or hear, don't hesitate to send that in either. Thank you for watching this episode of God, Family, and Guns. And as always, love God, love your family, and love guns.